What's going on, millionaires? You're listening to the Million Dollar Mind Podcast, episode 173 on getting your products in front of more people. So I'm super excited to have this conversation. We have my friend Whitney Frederic from, man, I've known Whitney since high school. And, I've just been kind of following her journey, seeing what she's doing. And you guys are going to find Whitney to be amazing, especially all the things that she has going on, all the things that she's teaching herself, continuously learning. Is definitely some information and some advice that we could all use and just a refresher that we can all use. So Whitney is the founder of It's Season. Yes, a Black-owned season and spice brand, based in the Philadelphia area, but you can find her products, anywhere, especially online. She's again a Philadelphia native and celebrating recently getting It's Season inside, a brick and mortar. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that more, Whitney, about, how that journey has been for you and how you even got It's Season inside the mall. And what other, spots that you can be found as well. But I want to just pass the mic off to you to kind of tell our listeners a little bit more about you and what they can expect from today's episode.
Okay. All right. Good morning, Kai. I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I am honored to be here. But like Kai said, my name is Whitney Frederic. I am the CEO and founder of It's Seasoned. And that is what I do after my 9 to 5. In my 9 to 5, I am a scientist. But in addition to that, I am a lifelong learner. I enjoy learning, I enjoy researching, and I'm also interested in like investing and just finding ways to better myself. So, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. I love to hear it. And the one thing that you said, Whitney, that stuck out to me was being a lifelong learner. I think that is super important. Always having the mindset of what can I learn? What can I be doing differently? What can I be, how can I challenge myself in this different light? Or, just asking yourself those critical questions is super, super, super important. And I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to have our millionaires who are tapping in for the first time. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. All right, millionaires, entrepreneurs, moguls, philanthropists, managers even, right? I want to encourage you to purchase my book, Lead from the Front, because it is essential if you want to learn how to be an effective leader, not just for others, but for yourself as well. Learning the tools or the importances, I should say, of accountability, discipline. We have so many resources and tools that are in the book to help you give better feedback, give more genuine feedback, hold yourself to a higher standard and hold others to a higher standard without making them feel like you're the person that tells a lot but doesn't lead by example. And that's what the whole purpose of the book is, to lead from the front. So if you haven't already, go check out my book, Lead from the Front. You can find it on my website at www.kaispeaks.com. It'll be right there at the top. For our seasoned vets, no pun intended, no pun intended, but welcome back to the Million Dollar Mind Podcast, the world's most trusted podcast for passion attraction. You are in the right place if you're here looking for tips and tricks, money-making tips and tricks on just living a more passionate life and, living your dream. So, Whitney, let's start off with your experiences. What experiences do you feel like, really helped mold you into the person that's joining us today?
I would definitely say my childhood molded me into where I am today, more specifically being raised by two Haitian parents. My parents were born in Haiti and they were raised in Brooklyn, New York. And instead of them having a fairy tale wedding, they decided that they were going to save up money and they were going to buy their first house in Philadelphia, which is where I was raised. But one thing that really molded me, I would say, is like my parents were very strict and also stressed the importance of education. I always like to say before the whole idea of summer reading came around for schools, my dad had his own thing and he used to make me and my siblings read Hooked on Phonics. And at first it was annoying because I'm like, I want to go outside and play. My dad was like, you can play, but you got to read this Hooked on Phonics, like answer these questions. And it helped me with like my PSAT scores and just be a better test taker. So from a very young age, I was always reading, learning new things. And that's because my parents, like, they laid the foundation and basically made it very clear that education was important to make it in this world, but even more so than that, but to be a very hard worker, and anything that you're going to do, that you have to do it with pride and be consistent. So yeah.
Man, speak on that word, consistency. That word comes up, if not in every conversation I have, every other conversation I have. It is definitely about consistency. And so, I mean, let's talk about that word a little bit as far as like for your journey into, entrepreneurship. How did you like how do you find, what methods have been, easiest for you, or what tricks do you tell your mind in order for you to kind of stay consistent, even in, those moments where motivation isn't enough, right? Because motivation isn't guaranteed all the time. So how do you stay, consistent in taking the strides and the small steps that you have to take in your business, knowing that it's important for the growth?
So one thing I like to do a lot is I like to write things down, and I know what my overall goal is for my business and for my life in general. So what I like
Mm-hmm.
to do is make sure that I'm constantly looking at what my goals are. And I know that in order to reach my goals, that there's certain steps that need to be taken. Like sometimes I may not want to post on Instagram, but I know that posting on Instagram is important, because if I don't market my company, no one's going to know about my company. So I have to keep in the back of my mind, what is the overarching goal that I'm trying to reach, and what is necessary to get there. So if I'm not consistent in doing the steps to get there, then I already know what's going to happen. It's not going to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
It,
writing
it, it,
things down, yeah.
it won't happen if you don't write it down. Like writing it down
Right.
is making it real. I know for me, I tell people all the time, if it's not on my calendar, it most likely won't happen.
Right.
Like it has to be written down somewhere, documented, so that we both know it's real, not just me. So we both know it's real. Because I've had people forget about, conversations, forget about meetings, forget about meetups,
Mhm.
just because we didn't put it on the calendar.
Right.
So that's interesting. I'm glad to hear about that journey. I'm glad to hear about those experiences, Whitney. And as far as like the test taking and the reading books, how do you feel like that also kind of played a part into just making you not just a all like always learning, having that student mentality, but as far as the application of information towards what it is that you, whether it's season. I know we talked a little bit about Forex. Like how has you been open, you being open to like reading and self-education and all these things? How have you applied that towards other aspects of your life?
So one thing that I've been consistently reading about now is like the stock market, which we discussed not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I've read a lot of books. I watched a lot of YouTube videos about it. But in order to understand and know that what you're reading is making sense, is to try. So what one thing that I did, or that I'm currently doing, is I've been doing a lot of paper trading, and
Mm,
basically trying to apply some of the skill sets that I've learned about through reading, and seeing if I'm able to execute a trade the way like these seasoned investors are doing.
mm-hmm.
And if I am able to come up with a plan, execute the plan, and things go well, then I'm like, okay, well, then maybe what I read, I actually comprehend the material because I'm able to apply it. If it doesn't go so well, which that happens often too, I'm able to go back, revisit my notes, and see like what else is there that I need to learn. But again, like back to the consistency thing, like I have to be consistent. Like if I'm not constantly studying and reading charts and practicing,
Mm-hmm.
then it's not going to work.
Right. It definitely won't work if you're not
So,
being consistent. So what
right.
what came first? Was it season, or was it like, you wanting to also dabble in like stocks and, other forms of trading and things of that nature?
So it's seasoned definitely came first.
Mm-hmm.
But even before its season, I'm not sure if I told you, but prior to its season, I was like in college, and I wasn't sure, like when it was time for me to graduate, I wasn't sure if I was going to go through with medical school or if I was going to take a gap year and try to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was in college, I got the opportunity to do research, and I fell in love with like the aspect of research. So I was like, I'm not really sure if I want to be a doctor, but this is what I said I wanted to do. So I decided to take a gap year. A gap year turned into 5 years of me doing research, and like I was just like, this is where I want to be. But during that time period, I also was still cooking. I mean, I was cooking in college simply because like the food didn't taste that great. And I was also making my own seasoning blends in college, but back then it wasn't because I wanted to make seasoning blends per se. It was just because I wanted the food to taste how my mother and my grandmother's cooking tastes. So fast forward to me working after college, and there was there was something that I read that came up from like CNN. The FDA made a recall on a pharmaceutical drug, and it was because of they recalled this drug because of there were traces of a carcinogen, and this drug was used to treat hypertension. And I basically wanted to find a way to help these individuals. Like, how can individuals who have hypertension not have to worry about hypertension and stuff like that? So essentially, it came first, but the idea of like learning about stocks and things like that came second, and that was something that was recent. That was actually around when the pandemic hit, because I started working from home and I had a lot of time. And I started seeing a lot of stuff on Instagram, like people trading, and I'm just like, well, what is this? Like I had an account, but I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. So
yeah, no, I loved it. I love to hear that story, especially just like how relatable, the story, especially if taking a gap year and then that gap year turning into 5 years. That is, a lot of people's story, right? That is so relatable in so many different ways that people could really, pick up just from you making the decision to extend it and to find another lane that just made more sense for you. And a part of that I love to hear, Whitney, was you finding out that you had a love for research, right? You were very passionate about finding information and diving deep into that information to just know, to have an understanding. And even though originally, right, it might have been towards medical school, right? Like, oh, I'm going to use this passion towards med school, but you find a way to learn about a pharmaceutical drug that was recalled and was, supposed to help people with hypertension, and then boom, its season comes out, and now you're like producing, seasoned blends that are just better for people and, natural and treating hypertension, which is a huge problem in our communities, right? So I love to hear that story. So if you can give people some advice as far as where to start, and it doesn't matter what industry they're in, just kind of like where to start on that researching / educational piece when people say, oh, I have this idea, but I don't know where to start as far as getting the information. How can people find the information they're looking for? Where should they go? YouTube, Google, like where's the starting point for all that? Because it's a lot of different places to get information nowadays.
That's exactly, you said it. That's exactly where to go. Like the first place I went on Google, how to start a spice company. Also on YouTube. But the main place that I literally went to was I went on Google, and then that brought me to the Department of Agriculture, which basically told you all the licensings and the permits and the business insurance that you need to get when you're starting like a spice company. But let's say you were starting something else. You would literally go on Google and figure out how to start, and you put in what you're trying to start. Another thing that I would say is look at other people who are doing what you want to start and see, learn from them. I mean, that's also very important. See what they're doing, see what ways you can potentially make what they're doing better. Yeah, so I would definitely say Google, YouTube, your best friend. Do as much research as you can, figure out what licenses and things that you need to be able to do it legally, because I know everyone wants to start a business, but you want to make sure that you're doing things the right way, because when it comes times to doing your taxes, you want to make sure all those things are also squared away. So yeah, you gave the answer. So
yeah. So you definitely got, I think most importantly, you just got to start somewhere, right? Is not like finding creative ways to not give yourself that analysis paralysis and just freezing off of, oh, I got so much to learn. Should I ask this first? Should I find this out first? Should I find that out first? Should I talk to this person first? It's more so just kind of like getting started, just do and then fix it later, just create it and fix it later. So for you, did you start off like YouTubing videos, or is your style of researching more like word-based articles and just kind of like reading in between the lines? What kind of learning style do you have?
Mine's is reading. I do like a lot of reading between the
Mm,
lines. I do a little bit of the YouTube, but not too much. But it's pretty much doing a lot of reading. And then also one thing that I've learned like with entrepreneurship is that in the beginning I used to be very afraid of doing things because I wanted to be a perfectionist. And I'm like, no, I can't start my company because I don't have the right bottles, I don't have the right labels. Honestly, like when I literally started It's Season, I used to sell my seasoning in Ziploc bags. And at
mm,
first I was like, nobody's gonna buy this. Like it's in a little Ziploc bags. My labels were janky. They weren't waterproof or anything like that. Um, but I was giving it to like my friends and my family, and they were buying it, and they were like, no, this stuff is good. So I would say start somewhere. Like it's
mm-hmm.
you have enough time to make it better, but you still the first step is starting. Like just start.
So yeah, definitely just start. And man, that's interesting to hear about like the changes that you went through with your labeling, your packaging. How did you like when did you start investing into um higher quality labels and better packaging? When did you start investing into the brand as far as like improving the marketing and how people perceive the brand?
I don't want to say immediately, but at first it was something that I didn't share with the world. It was just something that I
Mm,
share with my family and friends. But then when I wanted more people to learn about it, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to get a bottle because people are not gonna take me seriously. So I started small, and I actually used to go to like Bed Bath and Beyond, and they had like these clear glass jars, and I think each jar was like $2 a piece. That's so expensive, but like that's what
mm,
I did. I bought the little jars, I made the blends and I put them in the jars, and then the labels were just paper labels. In the beginning I was printing them at home, and then I was like, this is not working, I don't have that much ink in my printer, like it's not the best, but it people still liked it, the product was good. So as time went on and I was making a little bit of like breaking even, I was like, let me
mm-hmm,
just start investing more into my business. Investing more into my business meant that I had to get a second job. I started working for Instacart, and that was because I didn't want to take money from my 9 to 5 and just solely throw it in my business. Because I'm like, what if this doesn't work? So that's why I
mm-hmm,
got like a second gig. And then all the money that I made from there, I was using it for like labeling. I was using it for buying more spices, buying more herbs and things like that, supplies, grinders, and all those bunch of things. Um, so yeah, and then once I started doing that, I also noticed that my customers, the people that were there in the very beginning, they actually noticed that there was a difference and they
mm-hmm.
appreciated it. Like, oh my gosh, like I remember when your bottles were so small. I remember when they're the little Ziplocs. Now this is what they look like now, but they weren't always like that.
Yeah,
And people were like, oh my gosh, I still have like the original little Ziploc thing. Like that's crazy. Like, oh my gosh. And like
yeah.
that, like, yeah, that like literally brings tears to my eyes because I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
People do appreciate people really do appreciate the growth when they see the growth in brands that they support, people that they support in general. And I think that's something that I had to learn earlier on with creating the podcast as well. And even for all of our millionaires who will be listening, tapping in, that's a huge lesson to take away from as well, because we obsess over the perfection of it, and we think that, okay, I have this vision for this brand. Like, I'm sure when you envision is season, it didn't look like the beginning stages, right?
No, it
but
didn't.
but sometimes we allow the obsession of the vision to stop us from even trying, because like, I can't get it to look like this right away. And when you mention like people sharing with you how much they notice the brand changing and they see the direction that it's going, they love that. And my coach had to tell me that about the podcast. It's like, it's not about starting with 5 episodes a week and doing video production. It's just about doing maybe 1 or 2 episodes a week, and it's just only audio. And then if you start bringing YouTube, then people's like, oh wow, he's got YouTube up there now. Oh wow, he's starting to do more episodes a week. And so it's just a constant evolution of it. Pretty much like our youth. Like when we, I'm not sure if you have any goals of having any, children, but just in general, just having children, you don't expect them to be born knowing everything, being grown, like knowing how to start their own business. It's like they're an infant, and we have to pour that into them, and then we watch them grow through all the life's lessons, all the mistakes, all the bumps and bruises, like all of that. And our business is the same way. It's just about treating the business the same exact way. Now I saw something in your bio that you transitioned from tech to science. Tell us a little bit more about that transition and what that looks like now.
Yeah, so people always ask me that question, and I think the reason why you're asking is because you probably think it's like tech as in IT, but it's actually research tech into scientists, if that makes sense. So they're very similar in the sense that I work in a lab, but now as a scientist, I just have like more responsibility. But I made that transition actually this past year. And the reason I made that transition was because the first job that I got out of college, I worked there for 5 years. And while I really enjoyed what I was doing, I was going through a lot in my life. I mean, with the pandemic, with a whole bunch of things just happening in my life during that time period. But I started to do a lot of personal development and growth through, like, I joined this mentorship program. And I just basically like got into a point where I was just like putting all the work in my business, my personal life, and just making sure that I was doing what I needed to do for myself. And I was in a place that I felt like I was no longer being valued. I was in a place where I felt like I was no longer growing. So I had to like quit the company, to say the least. Wasn't on bad terms or anything, but like it was just the fact that I got to a point in my life where I said that if I'm in a situation, I have to be growing and learning from it. And I felt like I was at like the top, like it wasn't going up. The curve wasn't going up anymore. So I needed to find something that was going to challenge me more and allow me to research more and do the things that I enjoy doing. So then I made the transition at a different company as a scientist and I'm still able to do what I want to do, but I'm challenged now. Like I feel like I go to work and I feel like I'm in school because I'm constantly learning. Like, and I like that. So I love it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you how do you feel like that transition has influenced its season, at any bit, if it has? I know that this is something that's more recent, but do you feel like the transition kind of like is maybe changing the way you think about the direction of its season, changing how you want to do certain things? How has that influence taken shape?
I think the experience within itself changed me. And I think the reason for that is before I was a little bit more timid and like not very vocal about how I feel. But I realized that in order to get things out of life, you have to be willing to speak up for yourself. If you don't speak up for yourself, people are going to speak for you. So that's something that I had to learn in my personal life and through like the mentorships and things that I've been in. And just basically, if you want something, you have to go and get it. And that's what this experience has taught me, especially with like the extensive interviewing process that I had to go through. So like now in my business, I'm not afraid to reach out to people and ask about like partnerships and to figure out where they're having pop-ups and just like, I'm a small business owner. Like if you know anyone that is interested in like supporting small businesses, this is my contact information. Like, I'm not afraid of doing that. Before I was a little bit like, no, I don't want to ask for help. Now I'm asking. A closed mouth does not get fed. Like, so I would say definitely that, like, I'm definitely more confident. And I'm not afraid to put myself out there like I was before. So that was like a very life-changing experience, to say the least. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. I would say that moment for me looked like right after I joined my fraternity and like my sophomore year of college. They kind of constantly made me do things that I wouldn't have probably done by myself, like running for Mr. Cheney or running for like some type of student office. And that kind of was my experience that kind of made me step out of this introvertedness shell and now in the middle of like closer to like ambiverted or omnivert type of situation. Do you feel like, actually I'm curious to know this answer, if the previous opportunity that you were at,
Mhm.
if the options were to leave or if they were able to increase your salary substantially, do you think that you would have stayed, still kind of, if nothing else changed, just the salary?
Nope, money wouldn't be enough to keep me there.
I
When I
love.
tell you, like, I was going through like a shift in my life, like with
Mm-hmm.
personal things, financial things, like family things, that like this, like me transitioning from that job and also transitioning from a lot of other things, it was necessary. So it doesn't matter. I mean, maybe in the time period, like if that was presented to me, like, oh, we're going to increase your salary, I might have thought about it, but I don't think that I would have stayed there that much longer.
Mm. That's big.
Yeah, I don't think I
That's
would
big
stay there.
for a lot of people because,
Mhm.
when I was having this conversation with a few of my friends, it was like a little debate at first. And it's kind of like we have this ideal that a part of being a responsible adult is, sacrificing our happiness for, paying bills, buying a house, finding a partner, you know, and all of these things may come with the the territory of adulting, but I don't necessarily find it as true responsibility. I think the true responsibility is being able to do all of those things, but still find happiness in those things. And so for you, it sounds like, at that position, you just realized that there was now um, a fork in the road, and one of two things. One thing had to happen. You either had to leave, or this place gave you more opportunity, more growth, more challenge.
Right,
And it didn't seem like it did. So you had to move on and find that challenge
right,
somewhere else.
right, right.
Um, and so I'm not sure if this was the situation, but let's say the new opportunity does pay less. How do you, because I would still think that you would probably still go with the second opportunity, but how do you prepare yourself for others? Right? This is talking to the people at this point. For others who may be faced with that same scenario coming soon, having to leave a situation where they don't feel valued, and maybe having to take on to a position that pays a little bit less. How do you prepare yourself for a transition like that? How do you prepare yourself mentally and even, spiritually, right? Because that could play a toll on your mental and spiritual well-being too. How do you prepare yourself for a transition like that?
That's a very great question. And actually, that's something that I considered. I left my job and did not sign an offer letter to the current position that I'm at when I left. I was
Mm,
fully prepared and I was okay. I was like, if I leave here, I'm okay for the next 11 to 12 months without having no income with what I had saved up and like my retirement plan and all of those things. So I was
mhm,
fully prepared for that. I knew I had to get out. But I would say to someone who's facing that dilemma, if you're going into a situation that is not paying you as much, I would say just try it out. Try it out. And
mhm,
if you feel at peace at that place, if you are happy, if you feel like you're able to grow and there's opportunities to grow, just try it out. But with the way gas prices and things are right now, you got to make sure your finances are in order before you leave somewhere that is giving you enough money to live comfortably to go into
mhm,
somewhere that's going to put you in a deficit. So you got to weigh your options out. But
mhm.
I was fully okay with not working and then just doing my business and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, I would just say that you have to know like what your numbers are and what your current situation is, but don't be afraid to take that leap because these companies, they don't care about us. They really don't. Like we're just a number. So like we have to be willing to use our voice and we have to be willing to advocate for ourselves. And if you believe that you at a current position now and you believe that you deserve a raise and things like that, and you're doing what you're supposed to do, don't be afraid to ask for it.
Yeah, you can't be afraid. Like you said
No,
several times, closed mouths don't get fed.
they
And
don't.
so it sounds like you really have to, when you once you have the feeling of being undervalued at a place, it's now planning that exit strategy. What does the exit strategy look like? What finances do you have to have secure? Like you saying 11 to 12 months, that's amazing. Like that is amazing. I probably would have shot for 3 to 6 months max, right? Before I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna have to make something shake. But I think what I'm saying is the more you can secure yourself, just like if this job right now, people stay at a job because it provides a level of security. So if you can just kind of create that security for yourself for, 3, 6, 12 months, that will allow you to go into any opportunity with an open mind, to
Right.
see what can work. But if you just kind of like burn those bridges, quit without the 2 weeks notice and just kind of just stop showing up, and you could be even still showing up and not showing up, right? Like just
Right.
totally not present at all because you felt like I'm done with this place. When you do it that way and you just kind of impulsively, move into the next position, I think those situations are what traumatize people into not making leaps of faith and jumps in the future of just, oh man, I left this job that was giving me all the security, and I started entrepreneurship, or I went to this other job and I don't have any funds, I can't take care of myself, and we put ourselves in this voluntary high level of stress,
Right.
and that's not beneficial at all. Stress really plays a huge part in our performance. So switching gears a little bit, Whitney, because I do want to again congratulate you on all the amazing things you've accomplished with It Season. You are now in a storefront in the mall. Tell us a little bit about that, and what the process was even like building up to that accomplishment.
Right. Okay. So its season is currently in Willow Grove Mall by way of the Philly Shared Store. And basically, the Philly Shared Store is a store in Willow Grove Mall where these two young women decided that they wanted to provide a space for business owners that are in the Philly and the Philadelphia area to showcase their products and whatever they make. To customers and to give us basically more traffic than what we currently have. Um, so essentially, this wasn't the first place that I actually got into. The first storefront that I got into was someplace called Northbrook Marketplace in Westchester, Pennsylvania. It's like on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, in terms of getting into the store, I had to make sure that I had like for the first place, I had to have like business insurance. I had to make sure that I was ServSafe certified. Basically, all the licenses that you need to have a business just to make sure that you're legit to get into the first place. The Philly Shared one was kind of like there was someone else that I knew that was at the store. I don't know them personally, but I followed them on Instagram. I was like, oh, this is so cool. How did you get in? So basically, it's they have an application process that you have to go through. And they like to have different businesses. So they don't want to have like a gazillion and one of the same type of businesses there at the same time because they switch out the businesses on a month to month basis. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone can get an opportunity. I've actually been in there for 2 months, which I've been very blessed to have that opportunity. And a lot of people actually enjoy the blends that I offer because not that many people have seasoning companies at the store. So that was a plus for
Mm-hmm.
me. But essentially, I reached out to them and I asked them, well, I have a small business. Like, how do I get into your storefront? They sent me the application. I didn't get in the first time because like the spots fill up like wildfire, like very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But they said they told me to apply again and see what happened. And I applied again. And then after a few days, I was accepted. And then they send you over like a contract. If you agree to that, like there's like this very lengthy contract basically stating like what it is that what your products are and what it means to be an affiliate of Philly Shared. They talk about like the commission process and how you get paid, how they get paid, and things of that sort. And you agree to the terms, and then they set up a day for you to go in to bring your products and your inventory and things like that. So
Mm.
far it's been it's been amazing, honestly.
Wow, that
Yeah.
that's good. That's good to hear. What does the production look like on your end to, being able to provide the inventory for a storefront, and even what it may look like for you to get into other storefronts if that's, something that's on the table as well.
Yeah, so initially I used to do like the seasoning blends. So I produce all the seasoning blends. At first I started out in my home, but then when I had to get like legit, I had to start doing it out of like a commercial kitchen. But
Hmm.
essentially what I like to do is I like to create things in batches. So I think I sent over about like 50 seasoning blends. They don't have that many left. But the people at Philly Shared will basically reach out to me and they will send me a picture of my shelf space and like, you're running low, like you might want to, give us some more seasoning. So that way when people come, they are able to purchase. But in
Mm.
terms of like my website, what I like to do, I like to keep it very stocked. But I noticed that when I have email campaigns, when I send out emails, is when I have like a lot of people that order. So when I know that I'm going to send out an email campaign, I know to make more than what I anticipate. So, because that's when people generally buy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. I like the process of batching. I even batch things myself. Like when it comes to content and creating content, I batch the content. How has batching, been working for you? Do you batch pretty much like once a week, once a month, and you like really spend like a whole day? What is that
Oh
process like?
yeah. Yeah, it's usually on a Saturday.
Hmm.
I batch when I'm gonna make my blends. And also I have like Haitian pickles and épis, which one is a spicy pepper blend, and then the other one is like a seasoning base. But those particular things I have to batch because I only do them by pre-orders, and those typically happen once a month. So what I do is I'll send out an email saying that I'm going to be taking pre-orders for this. So then, based off of the numbers that I get, like of people that want to purchase, that's when I
Hmm.
go and buy the ingredients to make it for
That makes
like
a lot
those
of sense.
specific customers. Yeah. And then I just make a little bit more just in case there's some people that didn't get a chance to pre-order. And then when it comes time to like sending them their order, if I have like 5 left, then that's when I'll start like putting on my Instagram story, like I'll start promoting, we got AP Slack Guy, we got Haitian Pickles. If you're interested, head to our website and you can purchase them, because those particular products, the shelf life on them is much shorter than it is for the seasoning blend. So like that's why I
Hmm.
do it in like a pre-order fashion.
Mm.
So
That makes a lot of sense. You definitely, it definitely sounds like you've been doing this for a while, and you are definitely learning, different ways to, to make it work for yourself and your schedule. Back to like the batching, how has the effects of batching really kind of made, entrepreneurship much more, I don't want to use the word easier for you, but
it
where you
has.
can still enjoy your time, you can still enjoy your time while being an entrepreneur, like not solely through, but through batching, very much so it makes it possible. So talk about that experience and how it's been able to kind of help you free up some time and just some things that, you've been able to do from batching.
It has helped me tremendously, because let me tell you, in the very beginning, what I used to do is I would wait till I get an order through my website. And then I'm like, okay, so this is what the order is. Now let me go make it.
Mm.
No, because I had a whole bunch of other things that I had to do. I'm not just doing my business. I also have a social life. I also work a 9 to 5. There's a whole bunch of other things that's going on. So when I actually started batching a lot was when I started doing a lot of pop-up shops. And I knew when the pop-up shops were ahead of time. So what I would do is I would set out a weekend for me to make all the blends that I wanted to sell for at the pop-up shop, and then make more for my website. And then when I do that, I would go on my website and I would change the inventory number so that they match what I physically had on hand. So that way, when someone places an order, it's not like they have to wait 5 days for me to process it. If I have it, if I already made it, then that means I have it. So then once you place the order, I'll process your order and send it off. So it has not only made my life easier in terms of like freeing up time on my schedule to do things, but it has also made like the shipping times quicker, because like it's
Hmm.
already prepared. It's not like I have to go and I have to make the blend. No. If I say I have it on my website, it's because I do. And now I'm just waiting for you to place your order so then I can then get the order out to you. So
Mm.
tremendous. Like I think the importance of batching is more so of the sense it it forces you to plan ahead. So that way, you know what your schedule looks like. So now you freed up time and you're not just doing things on the fly. Like you already thought ahead and you are prepared. Like get ready so you don't have to be prepared so you don't have to get ready, essentially. Like,
right. Stay ready. You never have to get ready.
Yes. Yeah. Stay
Yeah.
ready so you never have to get ready. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really sounds like batching
Mm-hmm.
gives you the space to be more of an entrepreneur and a CEO than not. Because, before the process of getting an order, processing it, making the order, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you might as well just work at Chipotle, right? You work on a factory line, because that's essentially how it goes. And I'm sure you didn't create a season to create another job for yourself.
No,
More it was more so creating a business for yourself.
right.
So batching it, like you said, and planning ahead, it allows you to just kind of think about the production of your business differently, have time to still enjoy your social life, enjoy, family, and, just doing the things that you love. But most importantly, really just kind of put you in a space, even though you're still, doing it yourself to a certain extent, you're still batching it, which is forcing you to think future. All right. And I think that's the most important thing of an entrepreneur, is creating ways to always be thinking future, instead of sometimes we get stuck thinking in the moment, and we do everything in the moment. And as an entrepreneur, that could put you in a situation of being an entrepreneur, doing everything yourself. And I don't know about you, Whitney, but I don't want to do everything myself when it comes to business.
Absolutely.
So you also mentioned pop-up shops. How's planning for pop-up shops going for you? Do you are you now like getting invites to do pop-up shops, a little bit of both, of invites and outreach? What's that planning process like for you?
It's a little bit of both. It's a lot of like me reaching out, but then what happens is when I go to some of these pop-ups, I connect with other entrepreneurs. There's actually this one woman named Cassandra who is like a blessing. I actually met her at the Germantown Farmers Market, and I was doing a pop-up shop there. And ever since we've connected, anytime she sees a pop-up shop opportunity, she literally sends me a message like, hey, here's one, like you might want to look into it. And I do the same for her. So I think the pop-up shops are very helpful because like it's a sense of community where there's other entrepreneurships who want to let people know what their business is and they want to sell their products. But like we're all entrepreneurs, so we understand what it's like. But yeah, entrepreneurship is definitely one of those things where you have to think ahead. Like you can't just be thinking about today, like what's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, especially if you want to scale up and things like that. So
especially if you want to scale. I
yeah.
love that you use the word scale. Scaling
Yeah.
is definitely a product of planning ahead.
Yep.
So what would you have, if just knowing what you know now, your expectations versus the reality of when you first started its season, how do they differ? What do they look like?
I honestly thought in the beginning that like let me use Instagram as an example. I thought that it wasn't going to be that time consuming, and that is a complete lie. It is very time consuming. And I didn't think it was going to be that difficult to get people to engage with my content, and that is also a lie. That's just the reality of it. And I had to like step back and realize that like as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, that you are one person and you cannot expect to do everything yourself. So it humbled me. I'll say that because I'm the type of person where I thought that, oh, I can do it. I'm not going to hire someone. I can do it. Like I'll figure it out. I'll go on YouTube. I'll figure it out. But I realized that like you spending time reinventing the wheel, trying to learn something that someone who has so much expertise that could do it like this, you're better off paying someone to do something sometimes as opposed to trying to figure everything out. Like, because I'm not good at everything and I'm okay with that. But I think in the beginning, I was trying to save money and trying to do everything myself. And I think that held me back on certain things. And I think like for the people that are listening, like it's important to ask for help and also know that you're not good at everything and that's okay. but surround yourself with people who are good at the things that you're not good at.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
so that way you're not sitting here like stressing out how to do something when there's someone else who can do it, and you can just pay them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can
And
teach you how to do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. And I know exactly what you mean. And I was going to even, compare it to, what we're talking about today, which is, seasonings and, cooking and all that stuff. And when it comes to a meal, it's, we all look at the meal and like, oh, this meal is delicious, but we got to also look at the recipe and see that there are a ton of different ingredients that have to be put together to make that meal. So when it comes to the community that you speak about, as whether it's other entrepreneurs, as family members, just surrounding yourself with people who have a different ingredient than you, that's how you're able to kind of mold and form this meal that you have in mind for your business. It's not, you can't be the spice, you can't be, the actual protein, you can't be the sides, you can't be all the things that make up a meal. But if you have people around you that bring different ingredients and different pieces to the puzzle, that's how you're, able to prepare the meal a lot faster than you trying to do all those things yourself, as you said, again. So we get ready to, start wrapping things up, Whitney. It's been a pleasure, having this conversation with you. I'm sure our millionaires are going to really get a lot of value and a lot of gain, just from this conversation. Before we, wrap things up, I got another segment that I want to push off to you. But before that, I have a couple more questions. And one of them is, we talked about the expectation versus reality. If you had to start over, what is one thing you probably would have done differently, knowing what you know now?
one thing that I would have definitely done, I would have applied for business credit in the beginning,
Mm,
instead of like overworking myself and getting another job. Yeah, so I would applied for business credit, worked on getting my credit through like trade lines and things like that. Um, I would have probably um, hired someone to do like my social media, or someone to assist with marketing. Um, I would have gotten a photographer instead of trying to do everything on my phone in the beginning. Um, and I would have went to more like seminars, and more conferences where there are other entrepreneurs around, just to speak to people and get their insight on what their journey has been like, just to soak in a whole bunch of knowledge and learn like of mistakes that they made and things that they would have done better, and things like that. Yeah,
mm,
the major thing would be me not trying to do everything.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Outsourcing,
Yes,
outsourcing,
absolutely. Yes.
definitely. I
Hmm.
think a lot of us because the first thing that I heard was the business funding, and I would push that on everyone looking to start a business as they are in the developmental phases of that business. Don't A part of that development is also developing your personal credit so that you can qualify for business funding, and just start right ahead with that business funding so that you can, again, going back to that, before you leave this job, making sure you have your finances secured. It's the same thing with your business. If you start a business, but you have to fund it through your personal funds that also have to support your lifestyle, then that could put you in a situation to where you are making sacrifices that you probably don't want to make.
Hmm.
Now, sacrifices are good, and I do want to ask you, about what sacrifices that you have to make, and what you kind of benefited from. But some sacrifices, like not paying rent, right? That's not a sacrifice you want to make.
No, you
just
didn't.
to just to just to fund your business. You don't want to make that sacrifice, but sacrifice is important. So again, Whitney, for you, what was like a major sacrifice that you had to make, especially in the beginning stages of, starting your business, and how are you now seeing the benefits of that sacrifice?
I would say in the very, very beginning of me starting my business, I didn't travel as much. I love to travel, but
Mm,
I just couldn't afford it because I can't. I can't have a second job and I'm working there on weekends, and then I'm working there sometimes when during the week, and then I'm starting my business. So that was one of the sacrifices. Sleep is one thing that I've sacrificed. Um, I would say that's a major thing, but I'm learning now that like sleep is something that is very important.
Mm,
So I make sure that I'm just waking up earlier to get the things so I can get all the things that I need to get done. So I would say going out with friends a lot in the beginning was something that I didn't do because it's just like I just don't have the time to do that.
mm,
Um, what else did I sacrifice? I think it could also sacrifice relationships and friendships without us even knowing it. And it's
mm-hmm.
not saying that things have to go sour. It's just that like when you're so busy and you don't really have time to engage in things that are not helping you grow and flourish, then they kind of just get put on the back burner.
Yeah. And sometimes, depending on how strong that friendship and that relationship was, they do find themselves back. We all have those friends that, you don't talk to at all, but you see them in public, or you might come across a phone call with them and it's like y'all talking for an hour, catching up, and it's like y'all never even parted ways. Like,
Right.
that you have those relationships all the time. And sounds like the biggest sacrifice that you made was just time, sleep, not being able to travel. And I do see you travel a lot, so I
Yeah.
bet that was tough, sacrificing, traveling, and being able to hang out with friends that bring us such good vibes and good energy. All that is a sacrifice. It comes with the territory of becoming a new parent and that parent, I mean, and that child being your business.
Right.
um
Right.
so as we switching gears a little bit, Whitney, I again want to appreciate you and show my gratitude for you joining us today, taking time out of your Saturday morning to just, be here with us and to just share your experiences and, your journey. And, it's been a pleasure hearing from you. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. And this next segment is called Rapid Fire. So this actually, I got 5 random cards that they have nothing to do with any of the conversation that we did. And this is
Okay.
brought to you by Pod Decks.
Okay.
So nothing to do with seasoning, nothing to do with entrepreneurship, nothing to do with our
Okay.
conversation at all. But the best advice I can give you is to just be brief, be brilliant, but most importantly, have fun.
Okay.
So if you can answer any of the questions in one word or one sentence, that'd be awesome. All right. So the first one is, what is your most treasured possession?
Hmm. My brain.
Ooh, that's a powerful one. Your brain is your most treasured possession. Okay. If you were um if you were to die tomorrow, what little thing would you regret not doing?
I wouldn't have any regrets.
No regrets. No regrets.
No, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
All right. Who is your favorite hero of fiction?
Ooh, I don't think I have a fiction. I don't think I have one.
All right, we're gonna skip that one. This
Okay.
one is cool. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
Being true to myself.
Mm, being true to yourself. That's a very good achievement, because it does that is actually a process that people have to go through, that process of self-identification and, moving towards the things that you identify with. I think that's a big one. I love it. I love it. So this next one,
Okay.
number 4, is, if you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphones, which ones would you keep?
I would keep the Wix app. I would keep the Robin Hood app, and then I would also keep the my Audible app.
I think our two of the 3 apps are about the same. So I gotta have that Wix app on my phone, and I
Yeah.
gotta have Audible. I'm not on Robinhood. I use M1 for my stocks, but I
Okay.
see the trend here. Money, education, and
Mhm.
business.
Yeah.
That's where you stay at.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that. Number 5, last one. What characteristic are you most known for?
Nurture. I'm I don't even know how to say the word. I'm very
Like
kind,
nurturing?
nurturing. Yes.
So you are the person that is like making sure that like if you were a host, you make sure everybody's having a good time, you know, you're making sure people are taken care of,
Yes.
those types of characteristics.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. And I could definitely see that. I mean, you are one of the no, you are the only person that I know with a seasoning brand.
Oh
So
wow.
I mean, so like home cooked meals, that gives me very
Yep.
nurturing vibes. So that's cool. That's cool.
Yep.
All right. So I appreciate you. We getting ready to move on into our last few questions
Okay.
of the conversation. And this one is just for us to have a little bit more fun as well. I like
Okay.
to always ask this question at the end. And this is an opportunity for you to um, give our millionaires something to think about. And it's a red pill, blue pill scenario. So
Woo.
I'm actually not asking the question. I'm going to ask you to give us a blue pill, red pill scenario. And then what I'll do is I'm going to take it on the polls. I'll put it in our mastermind Facebook group, have people vote on which pill that they'll take. And I'll also put it up on Spotify as well. So if you could think of any red pill, blue pill scenario, what would it be?
Okay. So would you rather have $1 million,
Mhm.
or would you rather do what you love and enjoy to do and you have the opportunity to make $1 million within the year? So would you rather have $1 million handed to you right now, or
Mm.
would you rather be given the opportunity to do whatever it is that you want to do and potentially make $1 million per year? It's not guaranteed, but it's potential.
Mhm. Right.
What would you rather?
The potential. It's the potential. So
Yeah.
so the red pill is whatever you are doing right now in this moment, you can be handed $1 million cash. And the blue
Yes.
pill is you can now do whatever you want, whatever you love to do, whatever you're moved to do, and potentially make $1 million from that in a year.
Yeah. What would you choose?
Okay. I'm choosing the red pill. I'm taking that $1 million because I already feel like I'm doing what I love. So I'm taking that $1 million. I'm putting it right into this podcast. I'm doing that. But yeah, for our millionaires, what would you choose? I'm going to put it out on the Facebook Mastermind. I'm going to also put it on Spotify. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, you'll be able to vote. But if you are listening to us or watching us on YouTube, you can head right over to the Facebook Mastermind group, which will be in the show notes below. You'll be able to vote on which pill you are taking. And me and Whitney would love to know, are you taking the red pill, which is getting that $1 million, or are you taking the blue pill, which is the potential to earn $1 million doing what you love? Which one are you picking? I would love to connect with y'all. So Whitney, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you having having the patience, having the grace, having the experiences and being willing to share those experiences with us. I want you to, before you leave us, to imagine walking into, Philly Shared, to restock your shelves and, put some more It season on the shelves. And you walk past a spitting image of 18-year-old Whitney. What would be some advice you would give to 18-year-old self?
I would tell her to focus on her goals, not relationships, not friendships, focus on her goals. And to make sure to give herself grace, and to live life, like live life, focus on your goals, and not necessarily worry about what other people are saying or what other people are doing, but stay true to you, your dreams, your goals, and don't be afraid to take that next step. That's what I would tell her.
Man,
I would
I love that advice. You can't be afraid to take the next step. And the craziest thing and the ironic thing about next steps is they are scary.
yes.
And we just got to understand that the reason why they're scary is just because it's a space of unknown. It's a place we've never been before. But that we shouldn't be afraid of going to those places, because at the end of the day, knowing, as much as any of us, Whitney, being a student, a forever student and always learning, that in those new places, that's where we typically learn the most from. So, any new place, I love that advice, because in any new place, you take that as an opportunity to learn something new and get a new experience that you didn't have an opportunity of having before. So that's great advice. Well, Whitney, it's just amazing. It's just been an amazing conversation. I'm sure we're going to have, some more conversations like this in the future. We'd love to have you back. I'm sure our millionaires would love to have you back as well. Before I let you go, I would love for you to share with us, where we can find you, where we can find It's Season, if you have any special events, going on, any news that you're really excited to share. Now, I want to give you the space to kind of plug yourself in and plug us into you even more.
Great. Okay. So you guys can find me on Instagram at It's Seasoned. Also, we are starting a TikTok channel, start trying to get hit to TikTok. And it is also at It's Seasoned, and also on our website, which is www.itsseasoned.com. And we have a lot of things in store right now. Nothing that I'm going to share with you guys, but if you guys want to be on the journey with It's Season and see what we're doing, please, the best way to find us is through Instagram. If you're interested in getting a free sample of our blends, feel free to DM us and let us know, and I will get that out to you. So yeah, I hope to see you guys again. Thank you so much, Kai, for this opportunity. I feel honored, and I'm so excited. So yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing day. And I hope that you guys got from this podcast to basically stay true to yourself and not be afraid to take the next step. And you got this. So go for it. So.
You got it. Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, Whitney. And I mean, man, since you offered, I was actually just thinking about re-upping on some Cajun seasoning. I was looking at that Cajun season you got on the website.
Got you.
If you can send me a sample of that, yeah. If you send me a sample of that, I'm going to make sure I take care. I'll send you a donation straight to your phone. But I will get you all the information that you need to send me some of that Cajun seasoning, because I love Cajun.
Okay, absolutely.
Make me some Cajun salmon over the weekend, maybe. Yeah. So, all right, Whitney, it's been a pleasure having you. I can't stress enough, how appreciative I am, not just for myself, but also just I'm showing that gratitude, from the millionaires. Because when people tap into this and people hear this episode, I'm sure that they're going to, relate a lot to your story, what you've, some of the things that you've been through, some of the experiences that you might have had. And, somebody's going to take that and they're going to run with it, and they're going to, start their next brand and, make that next leap of faith. I feel a little bit more comfortable now making that leap of faith, just kind of tapping in to this episode. So I'm showing much appreciation to you. Thanks for, tapping in with us and joining us on a weekend. And as always, I'm super thankful to have you all, millionaires, join us week in, week out, being a part of the show, showing me the love and engaging with me on the Facebook Mastermind, on Instagram. Sometimes I even see some of y'all in person, which has been like a blessing, just, having some people stop me and say, hey, I listened to your show. Or I've even had someone say, your voice sounds very familiar, and us discovering that they listen to the show. Like, these things are amazing experiences for me. So, I appreciate you all for tapping in and joining us. And thank you in advance for becoming the millionaires and the change agents that you're bound to become, especially as you apply some of the principles that you heard here today. So again, if you relate, or if you really just enjoyed this episode, you can definitely make sure you connect with, Whitney, and engage with her. Feel free to connect, collaborate. It's all about community. But also, if you're looking for some seasoning, some spice blends that are made and created with you in mind, that we heard the story of how It's Season came about. So if you are looking to get some of those seasons that have your health and have your well-being in mind, definitely head on over to the website and grab you some It's Season. I'll make sure I put the website in the show notes as well. So as you guys are listening to this, go ahead down to the show notes, click that link in the show notes on YouTube, wherever you're listening to this on your podcast app, and head on over to It's Season and get you some seasoning, because we love to cook and we love to eat, right? We may not all like to cook, but we love to eat. So if you love to eat, whoever is cooking the meals for you, get it for them as a gift, because you're going to be eating that food as well and enjoying it. So I'm your guy, Kai Speaks. You just heard it from Whitney Frederic on putting your brands and putting your products in front of more people. Just remember to keep focus, build momentum, and drive results so you can live abundantly. Peace.